Hey guys, Anthony here, living with MS and moving forward. Today was the first productive day that I've had since starting the Ocrevus that I'm on a little over 2 weeks ago and having my second half infusion. Woke up this morning and helped my wife. Well, I guess I didn't help my wife. My wife helped me. I still have socks and shoes on because I can't touch my feet without falling over and rolling on the ground and looking like a roly-poly. It's funny. You can laugh. I do. But she left this morning at about 6:45, and I was going to go finish off my coffee, and then I was going to load up, go to Sunday school, and then go to church. When I went out and loaded into my van, I have a beautiful van that my wife insisted that I go and get because the one I was driving before had way too many miles, way too many problems, and it used to jump out of gear and go into reverse, and it ran me over a couple times and backed over me and dragged me across the parking lot. It was just not a safe vehicle, but I had to leave it running because the mobility crane that I had in the back could not lift it if the engine wasn't running. So I went loaded up into the van, shut the door, and it's got all of the ramps so that I can load up into it. It's all automatic. Has a mobility seat so that I can transfer into it. I started backing up the transfer seat so that I could get into it, and it was barely moving. And I thought, well, it's 33 degrees out here. It must be moving really slow because of being so cold. The good news is I had on gloves. I had on a hat because after I tried backing the thing up, I thought, well, I'm just going to put the car on, start running the heat, and get it warmed up in there, and maybe with it running, it'll move the seat a little bit smoother and easier. Except when I turned the key, nothing. And the downside is that I was also stuck in the van because the doors are based off of the electric, and the ramp to unload my chair runs off the same electric battery, and I was kind of stuck in the van. So I sat out in the van because I was still in a jacket, I was still in a hat, I was still in gloves, and I was okay, and I was able to go and manually open the door, and I was able to manually lower the ramp and unload. I basically manually had to go and get it all back up so that I could shut it and come into the house where it was still warm and get warmed back up. My puppy Gemma, she was fortunately out here with me and helped keep me warm because she knows that when I am not feeling 100%, or if I'm cold or if I'm hurting, she knows to go, and she just climbs on top of me and holds me steady and tries to help me get warmed up. And that was a wonderful thing. But after 12 o'clock, I waited until then so that in the event the AAA driver that was being called and they wanted to go to church, at least they'd be able to go to church. The gentleman who came to do it actually comes from right down the road from me, which was really cool. He was here in 12 minutes. And that was really neat and stuff. And, he doesn't go to church on Sunday, but we were able to go and have conversations out in my driveway that I wanted to wait until it was about noon to go and call in case somebody did want to go to church and stuff. And he went and told me, he says, I don't go to church, he says, but it was nice. I got to sleep in for the first time in a very long time. And I said, well then, apparently I waited for the right reason for you to make the phone call. But it's nice to know that the AAA service that I use, because I've had it for goodness 30 years, because I used to, when I worked, I drove long distances, and I am one to famously either lock myself out, get a dead battery, or run out of gas. It's not an unusual thing. And I use every bit of it every year. If not just for me, but sometimes for other people that don't have services like that, and it just turns out to be a blessing for them. But got the van cranked up, let it run for about a half an hour, and then I went to go and run some errands and stuff. Had to go pick up a couple items and take a movie back, and then run to go pick up something at a pharmacy for my wife. And I'll be honest with you, that's the most productive I've been in probably about 2-3 months. Because I was able to do all of the dishes while the car was out there in the driveway running. I was able to go and cook me breakfast since I couldn't go to church, and our church has something called the coffee stations where they have biscuits and stuff that are there, and coffee. And I drank a lot of water, but I have to have my coffee every day. One of the things with MS is that a lot of MSers have is fatigue, or that they basically feel like they have no strength or energy, and they prescribe something for people with MS that I do everything I can not to go and take or use or even get it filled. And that's Provigil, and is basically, for the lack of a better phrasing, it's almost legal speed. But I don't like to take it because it sometimes also has an adverse reaction for me. and will put me to sleep. And that may have been because over the past several months, I haven't, because of pain and because of the MS tremors and some of the other issues, I have not had a full night's sleep until a couple nights ago. And that was the day after, or the night of the second full dose of the Ocrevus that I got the full night's sleep. Which is really cool because I have definitely needed to get a full night's sleep. I've been dozing off in the middle of the day or early in the evenings without any hesitation, but it's nice. I've been able to get that full night's sleep the last couple nights, and it's just been a real blessing. But I am still holding at the last recorded weight of 50 pounds. I actually had bumped up a couple of pounds because I consumed some things that I know that I shouldn't have consumed. But man, they were good. And I knew that I was going to go and have a reaction, but I'm still holding in 50 pounds. I'm enjoying the fact that the belt that I went and got for Christmas, the thing, instead of just going through the first belt loop, it's now going all the way around to the back side of me, almost halfway around my body. Now, it is an elastic belt, and I do go and stretch it a little bit. But at the same time, I was doing that before, and it was only getting about a quarter of the way around. So, I have lost some weight, and I am still going to continue moving forward because I still have a long way to go. As far as the Ocrevus goes, I think I'm going to like this. I don't have to go back there until September to get my next infusion. And that one will be a full infusion, not the half doses that I've been getting. As they were starting to get me loaded into this to find out what kind of reactions I would have. I did not have any site reactions, which is one of the things that they talk about. I did get a headache with the first infusion, and I got a little bit of one the second infusion, although they gave me Tylenol to go and help prevent it, and it did help. The only other issue that I had with it is that I have to sit there for almost 5 hours. And I don't like to sit anywhere for 5 hours without moving around and doing something. There's only so much that you can do sitting there playing video games on your phone or shopping online or whatever it is you do. And I like doing all those things. I just don't like doing them for 5 hours. I am more cognitive than I've been in days. And that's an awesome thing. I'm looking forward to making dinner in a little bit before my wife gets home so that when she gets home she doesn't have to do anything. Yesterday we went, me and my wife, and ran some errands, and I I'm glad she needed to stop, but at the same time, I hated that she needed to stop because I was going to go and take her to get a pedicure and me a pedicure, because not being able to touch my feet is a issue that keeps me from doing care for my feet the way that I want them. And it's not that my wife doesn't do it, because my wife does, but at the same time, she's a nurse and she is at the hospital for 12 to 14 hours in a day, 3 to 4 days a week, and she gets exhausted. And I'm trying to do everything I can. And I think with this Ocrevus that I will start to see more and more, I'm hoping anyway, that I'm able to go and start bouncing back a little bit more. It doesn't stop MS, it doesn't go and reverse MS, but it does stop it from progressing, they say. And I'm hoping that in my case that it does that. I've got a good friend of ours that she was one of the first ones that, when I was diagnosed with MS, we knew that she had MS. She was in a chair. My first chair that I had with the MS was actually one of her chairs. It was a hand-me-down, because back then I didn't have any insurance, because I'd been basically self-employed and stuff, and I wasn't covered under my wife's insurance because she didn't have insurance. No, she did have insurance back then. I was covered by it, but they didn't cover wheelchairs, is what it was. And I knew what they costed and stuff, because I knew what they were back in the 70s, because I had to use one back in the 70s because of a bone disease that I had that crippled me up. The difference was back in the 70s, I wasn't using an electric one. I was using a manual one. The other downside is the chair that I have, although I'm thankful that I have it, does not run or work well. And they have been working on it for several months, but it was only one that back when the only insurance I had was my Medicare Part C plan. They would only cover so much, and they only allowed me to get through one company, and they had 2 chairs that would go and carry me, because even though I've lost 50 pounds, I'm still a big boy. And even though I had lost 300 pounds back in 2006, I was still a big boy. And the only 2 chairs that they had that would go and carry me was a Jazzy, and one was, I can't even remember what it was, but that one wouldn't even go over my threshold to my house with me in it. And so I had to decide that was not going to go, and cut it. Well, after this one here started having issues, this one won't go over unless I go through the door at a higher speed and ram through. And that's okay sometimes, but sometimes it's not. And so I will have the guy who he's been doing the repairs, he told me to go and let him close it out, and we will get it reopened to go and get it fixed so that it works better. So hopefully they will do that. This chair's, sometimes a lifesaver, but at the same time the batteries are wearing out fast. The thing doesn't have the power that I need it to have. But it is what it is, and I have to use something because I can't take more than a couple of steps, and sometimes I can't even take that. The downside to it is that I end up having to drive a older chair that I have, which has been a great chair, but it no longer will hold a charge, even though it's still got decent power and everything. It's also got bald tires, because there have been days that instead of taking the van, I just would go and roll out the door and roll down the road because I only had to go to a coffee shop, or I only had to go to the grocery store, which is only about 2 to 5 miles from here, and the chair went fast. And as a matter of fact, I've gotten speeding tickets in that chair. And it's kind of funny, but, it is what it is. And I'm just thankful that even though I am a hardhead, and yes, I am admitting to being a hardhead, and I try to do as much as I can and more than I should all the time. I am thankful that I have it to go and help me so that I don't overdo it too much. Something I learned early on in the MS thing that I didn't understand completely at first. Somebody was told me about the spoon theory. And the spoon theory, it's not something that's for MS, but MS users use it. Lupus people use it. There's other diseases that use it. And the spoon theory is you go to your kitchen drawer and you grab a fistful of spoons. And every time you do something or something, that goes and takes it out of you. And sometimes it's not just doing something. Sometimes it's just having to deal with people that are around you. And I had a lady today at the grocery store that if it did not amuse me, it could have cost me a spoon or two. She worked in the store, and she comes out the door as I'm loading up the 3 bags that I had to bring out to my van. And she took them from me, and she says, I'll take them. And it's like, normally I would have lost a spoon over that because I probably would have wrestled her for it. Because I try to be as independent as possible and do as much as I can as possible. But everything you do, everything that upsets you or you struggle with, it goes and will cost you a spoon. And once all the spoons in your hand are gone, you're done for the day. You have nothing else left. And, people say, well, it got to the end of the day and I had a spoon left, I'll just save that for tomorrow. Well, it doesn't work that way. You start out with the same number of spoons every day. You don't get to add them, you don't get to borrow them, you don't get to go and see if you can figure out how to create new spoons. Whatever you have is what you got. And sometimes it's a very miserable thing because I've run out of spoons at 10 a.m. in the morning. There have been days that I have made it to 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I was shot. But I can tell you that this new medication, I am not using as many spoons to do the things that I was having to use, sometimes 2 or 3 spoons to go and accomplish a task. And that's an awesome thing. And I'm really liking that. So, like I said, this Ocrevus is doing good. The weight loss, I have lost 50 pounds. Still have a lot to lose, and I am holding that 50 pounds. Haven't gained, well, I did gain a couple pounds back, but I lost them right back. So it's staying. It's not just water weight, although some of it is water weight, because that's what you lose when you lose weight in the beginning. And as fast as what I've lost the weight, you know there was some water weight in there. I have started going to the gym. Not that I can go and ride an exercise bike, not that I can walk a treadmill, not that I can do much of anything. But I am able to go in there and at least do some dumbbell curls and get some exercise and movement that way. I've got to at least keep my arms as strong as I can, as long as I can. Because my arms in many days are my legs. Between them and my cane. So, guys, remember, you can do anything if you set your mind to it. And you do it with Christ, because, Bible says that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The Ocrevus has made a difference, but if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be here. This is Anthony. I have MS, but I'm moving forward.